Welcome back. All right, so obviously Stanley Cup final time and all that, so I'm talking mostly about that trophy being awarded and hockey stuff. But I wanted to talk about wrestling today too. There's some wrestling stuff going on that I wanted to discuss. So starting off at the top of the board, Kevin Owens, who's been out with injury and now saying that due to injury, he may very well be done as an in-ring competitor. That's something he's looking at as a possibility at this point in time. It would be an absolute shame. Kevin Owens has been one of my absolute favorite wrestlers, and I've loved him as both a heel and as a face. I can't boo him. I've seen him live twice, and both times as a heel, and both times I'm like, I can't boo Kevin Owens. The guy's awesome. So even when he's like, this city sucks, and this sucks, and you guys are all idiots, I'm cheering like, yeah, you tell us. You're awesome. So, yeah, Owens might be done as a wrestler, which would be an absolute shame. But we'll see what happens and if he is able to return. Karrion Cross. So the whole Karrion Cross situation is weird. He's over right now. The crowd loves him, but they're not putting him on Raw. And apparently his contract's expiring. There's also discussions about whether or not he got over on his own, so that's why they're not pushing him. One of the things that I'm finding weird about WWE right now is everything that's going on, in the back of my mind, I keep thinking, this is stuff that was going on under Vince. So the idea that, Vince is out, Triple H takes over, everything's perfect, that has not been the case recently. And it started to feel like, these don't feel like Triple H decisions. Some of these just don't feel like Triple H decisions. But Karrion Cross, if he ends up exiting the company with the work he's been doing, I would think AEW calls him. I know AEW is not going to be bringing in everybody from WWE, but they'd be crazy not to at least consider bringing in Karrion Cross and Scarlett along with them. So I find it weird, the whole idea, they got over on their own. And that's what the rumor's been, that he got over on his own, and so you don't necessarily push him, or you don't want to push him when his contract's expiring, and at this point it doesn't look like he'll be re-signing with the company. From the sounds of it, it sounds like maybe they've been lowballing wrestlers. For instance, and we'll get to R-Truth at the bottom of this, one of the rumors that's out there with R-Truth, amongst many, right, is that they did offer him a new contract, but for a lot less than he's been making. And so he just rejected that. And there's always the possibility R-Truth goes to either AEW or TNA. Even though he's older than I am, R-Truth is still able to wrestle. He still looks fantastic. So, yep, if he can wrestle again, I think that'll be great. So, yesterday I spent over an hour listening to Elena Black, formerly known as Cora Jade, her interview with Ariel Helwani, and if you haven't listened to it, I highly recommend it. Now, the reason I bring it up, and actually the reason why I put together this video and this board here to discuss wrestling stuff with you, is because I've already started to see the sensationalistic headlines. So consider this to be a channel where I'll cover various sports, baseball included, and there will be wrestling videos scattered amongst throughout. But one of the reasons why I want to do this too is because there's so many sensationalistic headlines, and I don't think it's necessary. So I watched the interview, and as salacious as some are making it sound, I didn't see it as being that salacious. So Cora Jade comes into WWE at age 19, and she was a very skinny girl at the time, and they basically told her, you couldn't. I'm trying to remember the terminology she used, but she didn't like that there were a bunch of older men and employers who were basically commenting on her physique and her body and objectifying her. And so she was spending time at a private gym as well to get her workout going. She also disputed the idea that she's lazy. So one of the comments that's been out there, and it's basically been her and Gigi Dolan, that the rumor mill's been out there saying that rumor is they're lazy. I think these come from somebody inside the company that's trying to either throw the dirt sheets off or just try to make it so public sentiment doesn't turn against WWE with these releases, because it always seems weird when somebody gets released and then we hear, they were a problem backstage. She did admit she would take ideas to creative, and those weren't used. A lot of times she felt like she wasn't being listened to. She talked a lot about how she is a professional wrestler. That's all she's ever wanted to do in her life. They had pictures of her from when she was 11 at a wrestling event. And I thought it was nice, too. She also talked about Izzy, the super fan for Bayley, but back in the hugger domain at NXT. Izzy's wrestling now, too, I guess. So time does really pass. It waits for no one. I think that this interview was really well done. I did not think she threw the company under the bus. I thought she was very professional. She did use the word like a lot, but that's generational. That's not her. That seems to be a generational thing. Anytime my wife and I watch reality TV, there will always be people who use the word like a lot, and so eventually, every time they say it, I echo it. Like. Like, it's not her, but I thought she did pretty darn well. She has started an OnlyFans, and I know that wrestling fans get their, all upset. Oh, I can't believe this. These women are doing this. They make thousands and thousands of dollars a month. So I don't have an opinion one way or the other, because it's not really my business as to what somebody's doing, what they're posting, and whatever's going on with them. And so I just hope all the best for her. I did not think she said anything that would cause WWE under TKO not to hire her back. I still think it was a mistake to fire her. I do. She talked about how her and Roxanne, and she said multiple times that Roxanne Perez is her best friend, that they would, clean up after NXT shows, and that she had learned on the indie circuit, about how wrestlers comport themselves and what your job is and what you're meant to do. And I thought she did really well. So if you haven't seen the interview, I would recommend watching it, where I would go with that. The ratings on Netflix for Raw are continuing to drop. I'm not surprised. I initially, of course, was watching Netflix and Raw here and there and doing reviews on the channel, but I don't know. It's not the same. It doesn't feel like it's the same. It feels like it's easier to just have WWE out of sight, out of mind, with it being on a streaming service rather than on regular cable. I'm old. I have regular cable. So I don't know what WWE is going to do or Netflix might do, but the ratings dropping has to be troubling to somebody at TKO. I've talked about AEW's ratings, so it'd be wrong if I didn't talk about WWE's when they're dropping off. I think the shows could be a little better, too. I'm just being honest. The shows recently haven't really been fantastic, so I'm starting to find myself with WWE now. I might watch the start, and then I'm like, and then I go find something else to watch, and then I'll watch like a highlight reel package that WWE posts after the show, and that might be eating into the ratings too. Because you can watch a 10-minute recap of what happened and skip the other 3 hours. So, and WWE's putting that out themselves, so I think that's probably part of it, right? Mariah May arriving in NXT, I think fantastic. No word yet that I've seen on whether or not she's keeping that name. It is her given name, so if she wants to use it, she can. WWE, though, is very likely to give her a name that they can own. So it'll probably be something along this line. Ricky Starks, for instance, became Ricky Saints. Apparently part of that was because Zoe Stark is there and they didn't want the confusion, right, between Stark and Starks. So we'll see what Mariah's name ends up being, but Lady's a star, and the NXT reaction would tell me that there are people watching AEW, or at least keeping track of who's who in AEW. I think that's part of it. It would be interesting to see if on the main roster we saw a reaction like that for an AEW star coming in. And not Kenny Omega. Everybody knows who Kenny Omega is, so if he ever made that switch, I don't think he ever would, but if he ever did, I think the roof would come off the building wherever he debuted in WWE. I wanted to throw out there, too, so Liv Morgan had a stalker who got arrested. Now, Roxanne Perez is dealing with a doxing, so her home address being given out on social media, and a countdown to potentially her no longer being amongst us on this planet. Don't do this. Don't do any of this, ever. I don't understand it. I don't get it. I mean, I've had social media interactions with various celebrities and people, and I don't automatically go, well, that means they want to marry me, so I'll be back. No. So, yeah, I just figured I should throw that on the board. Don't stalk wrestlers. Just don't. Like, if I was out, like, for instance, when we've gone to California, if we were at California in Disneyland and I saw some celebrity, I'd probably point it out to Yvonne and go, that's so-and-so from whatever show. Or, if it was a wrestler, I'd be like, oh, that's so-and-so. And that'd be it. I don't think I'd go over and say hi. If they were passing by me, I might wave and say hi. That's it. That's it. That's the full extent of it. That is it. AEW news. So I think this is weird. This is part of what, if this is true, I don't think this works. So Cope, or Adam Copeland, the whole Cope thing is so, it's such a it's a Vince McMahon type name, oddly enough. But Cope, being out when he's coming back to face FTR, he's going to need a partner, and speculation is you put Edge and Christian together because that's how that works, right? But Christian Cage doesn't want that because he's in the midst of a storyline with the patriarchy. And I have to say, I think Christian Cage, in a company where a lot of storylines don't necessarily work, or sometimes they're stopping and starting, I think Christian Cage has been very consistent, very good. And I totally agree with him that a face turn right now wouldn't make sense. So if he was going to work with the formerly known as Edge, now Cope, and Adam Copeland, I think the only way it works is if Cope's a bad guy. And we know that that hasn't worked already. So I don't think we're going to get a tag rematch, any kind of tag run between them. You could always do the random tag matches like we used to see back in NWA days, way back when you'd have a tag tournament and you would have like Strange Bedfellows as tag partners, guys who were actually feuding as tag partners. You could have a match with FTR against Cope and Christian Cage where they're forced to tag together and they'd rather not. I think that would be maybe a bit more interesting of a storyline than the idea of, Christian becoming a face. Because I don't think Christian Cage works as a face either. I don't think generally his best work's been as a face. He's usually been the heel. So we'll see what happens there. R-Truth. The fallout of the R-Truth firing continues. I do find it funny that, and I know in the comments on the video where I talked about it, where it's like, hey, he wasn't released, his contract wasn't renewed. Well, A, R-Truth said he was released, and B, it's the same thing. It's the exact same thing. If somebody calls you in the office and goes, hey, so your contract's up next month, we're not renewing it, that feels a lot like being released. Release does mean it's usually during your contract, but either way, you're not making money from that company anymore. So we'll see where he ends up. But with the chants that are out there, and I would say this to any wrestling fan that's going to be in attendance, keep doing it. Keep chanting, what's up? Keep chanting for R-Truth. Keep doing it. Get loud, because if you want him back, that's the way for WWE to hear it loud and clear and fix the mistake. I'm not saying R-Truth should be champion or win a bunch of matches. I'm saying that his comedy backstage is very often the highlight of the show. He has been stealing the show for a very long time, and so I do hope they hire him back. But the fans can make this happen because the fans have done it before. If not for all those CM Punk chants for years. Do we see him go to AEW, have that huge run, and then come back to WWE? I think everybody knew how much everybody loved to see CM Punk because they chanted for him for years while he wasn't wrestling. Matt Hardy, when Matt Hardy got fired, fans chanted for Matt Hardy until he was rehired. Then they threw him right into a feud with Edge, which was the reason he got fired in the first place. That wasn't awkward, of course, but I would say keep it up. The interesting thing is I did order the Ron Cena shirt from Fanatics. That's stuck. It's stuck in processing, and I was told there's a delay. And so I'm not going to get that for a bit. And I'm waiting to see if they're just going to cancel the orders for it. Because with the t-shirts, wouldn't some of that money go to R-Truth? I mean, it's his likeness. Does WWE keep all that money when we order the shirts? I know part of the reason that I will order wrestling shirts that I do, or buy the ones in the store when I see them, usually at Hot Topic, is I'm like, I want to support this wrestler. I want to show WWE that this is somebody that they should push. So that's part of the reason why I have the shirts that I do, is because I'm like, this is the one that I think, probably doesn't get as much attention. I do have the Cena hat. There are times where I just get the popular one, but there are times as well where I'm kind of like strategic. That's why I kept buying Bray Wyatt stuff, but it never mattered. But anyways, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below as always. How do you feel about the direction everything's going right now around the wrestling world? Hit like and subscribe if you've not done so already. Thank you guys so much for all your support as always. I will talk to you again soon.